Hey everybody, F-Bomb Fitzgerald here, and today I wanted to talk about the difference between Kritzkrieg and stock Uber charge and when I decide to use either. Now you're probably saying, hey, there's two other metaguns, so you're not going to talk about those at all, and the short answer is I might in a future video, but when I play medic, I tend to choose either stock Uber or crits probably 90% of the time. Don't get me wrong, Vax is very powerful, Quick Fix is very fun, but 9 times out of 10, I find stock Uber or Kritzkrieg are my best choices. And since they're the ones I use most often, I feel most qualified to talk about them. So, Kritzkrieg is very dependent on how much faith you have in your pockets. You know, if you're playing on a pub and you're not using voice comms, or you're playing with inexperienced players who may not be able to wring the full power of your crits Ubers out of them, I don't recommend running this weapon because it's just too easy to waste an entire charge. Hell, I waste entire charges even when I'm playing with experienced players. Stock Uber, on the other hand, is a little bit more forgiving in terms of skill ceiling, in that if your pocket isn't good at defending you, or you're not good at dodging and defending yourself, the fact that you have full invulnerability for 8 seconds makes it more likely that you survive, and it also puts less pressure on your pocket in that they don't feel like they have to hit every single shot because they know that they're not going to die for at least 8 seconds. I know a lot of people tend to think of stock versus crits as simply a discussion between the defensive metagun versus the offensive metagun. And while that's certainly true on a very surface level, there's a lot of nuances between the two that I feel like gets lost in that discussion. So one of the key stats that differs between the two guns is stock charges a full Uber charge in about 40 seconds, whereas Kritzkrieg has a faster build rate, so you'll be getting those Kritzkriegs every 32 seconds. Of course, there's variables like if you hit Uber saws or things like that, and if you're getting crit heals or not, but that's for another video. There's a few places where the faster Uber build rate of Kritzkrieg becomes really important compared to stock Uber. One of them is when you join a game and it's not during setup time. Like if you're joining in the middle of a game and you want to play medic, sometimes choosing crits is a smart play because you're not going to have 40 seconds to build a full Uber to make a final push as a medic. The other time the Kritzkrieg's faster Uber build rate comes into play is during map changes and setup time. Because it builds so fast, you can almost always build a crits, pop it on a demo so we can lay down crit stickies before the match, and then still have time to build another full crits so it's ready when the gates open. Now, that gives a pretty significant advantage over Uber, stock Uber, where when the gates open, you're essentially using your first Uber, whereas with crits, you are already ahead by 1 Uber. Finally, while it may seem obvious, the faster build time of Kritzkrieg means that you can build more crits Ubers in the span of a match than you can stock Ubers in the span of a match. So let's say you're in a 5-minute match, or you're in a stage which is only 5 minutes long. If you're running stock Uber, you're only going to be able to build 7 Ubers, assuming you don't die and assuming nothing's accelerated with Uber saws. Whereas with a Kritzkrieg, you'll have 9 Ubers in the same amount of time. While this is mathematically obvious, I feel a lot of times people are comparing stock Ubers to crits Ubers as if you got them in the same amount of time, when the crits is essentially cheaper because you can get them that much faster, and having 9 crits sometimes is worth more than having 7 stock Ubers over the course of a match. The last little nuanced difference I wanted to point out between crits and stock is crits has a taunt that self-heals you and can save you when you're about to burn out from fire afterburn, whereas stock Uber does not. So if you ever get caught on fire with stock Uber, if you don't have a stock Uber to pop on yourself, you're basically relying on getting a med pack or getting extinguished, or maybe the Blutsauger, whereas with crits you can just duck around a corner, taunt, and then you're good to go. So how do I decide between what to run between crits and stock Uber? I know a lot of people kind of have rules of thumb where they'll say run crits on defense and stock on offense, with the thinking that you can make pushes with stock that you can't with Kritzkrieg. And while that's generally true, I kind of take more the approach of what is more fun in a given match for me. If I'm being sweaty and I want to win and I know that we need stock to make pushes, I'll run stock. If I'm just playing casually and I want to get a large kill streak and help my friends get large kill streaks, I'll play crits. In the background footage here, you could see I was running crits for the first part of the match, got a good kill streak in the 30s, but then I realized we weren't able to make the final push through their entrenched sentry nests. So I swallowed my pride, switched to stock, and we just ran to the last point and was able to overwhelm their defenses using stock in a way that we never could have with crits. Anyway, let me know in the comments if you think I missed anything between the differences between crits and stock, and which one do you prefer and when do you run them? Thank you as always for watching, and thank you to everybody who subscribed to the channel. It means a lot to me. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.